All right. So before we dive into the presentation, a quick show of hands. Who's actually here from Berlin? Okay. Who is from not from Berlin but from Germany? Okay. Who doesn't speak German? Okay, all right, so we keep going in English, fantastic. So, welcome, I'm excited to be here on stage, not in my hometown. I'm originally from Hamburg, and thank you very much for the kind introduction. Actually, I've built 6 companies in my life so far. The first 3 didn't go very far, they all failed. And then I spent a couple of years in a corporate world, and I hated it. It was so miserable. 3 years, I don't know how I survived in the big corporate world. And then I thought, oh gosh, what am I going to do? Obviously, I'm not an entrepreneur. I failed 3 times. I hate corporate life, so what's left? I don't know. And then I decided, luckily, to start company number 4. Back to the entrepreneurial side, and that was Madvertise, and that scaled quite well. Then I did another one, which also scaled quite well, and now, about 2.5 years ago, I decided to launch a new technology business called Roq.ad. And I have some 6 or 7 slides, which I'll run you through in a second, telling you a bit about how we see the cross-device market. But before we do that, let me share a very quick story with you guys. As a technology CEO, I traveled quite a bit. So I was in New York some 3 weeks ago. I spent a week there with some partners and customers, and then I was in Abu Dhabi over the weekend. Again, met some clients and partners and investors. And last week I was here in Berlin at a different conference focused on the retail business. And what I took as the feedback from all those sessions was that a lot of brands are afraid to work with American technology providers and the big Google, Amazons, Facebooks, and Apples of the world. And there's a lot of talk about building a German technology stack or a European technology stack for whatever you're trying to achieve, display, video, social, native, retargeting, cross-device analytics, whatever it is. And so the message I want to get across is let's all not be shy. I think we're building fantastic technology here in Germany and in Europe for our fantastic German clients and European clients. So we shouldn't be hiding, and we shouldn't be shy about the stuff we are building here, because I think we really can compete with some of the big technology providers we see from the US. So let's get started. Hyperlocal advertising. On average, you have 3.5 devices per person. About 90% of the consumers are switching from one device to the others, and 4 out of 5 are consulting different channels before they make a purchase decision. So that makes, as you quite rightly mentioned, a marketeer's life pretty fucking hard. Good thing is the market is growing. It's growing really quickly. In other words, that means your boss will be able to pay your salary next year and year after next. So good news, you're in the right market. That's always good to know. When I'm sitting down with most of the brands, a lot of people in the cross-device space tell me, oh, well, that is something that can be done using Facebook or Google or Amazon. So before we dive into Hyperlocal, I wanted to give you this 2x2 matrix and explain a little bit from our point of view what is possible in which scenario. So if you look at the top left corner into targeting and Google and Facebook campaigns, that is something that you can do well on Google and Facebook across multiple devices, because Google and Facebook know which typically 3 devices belong to you. And so the targeting use case can be achieved quite well on especially Google and Facebook. Now, for all the other campaigns you're running, and it doesn't matter if it's a display or a rich media or a video or a social or a native campaign, you can't use their technology for targeting. So there you need some other provider that has cross-device knowledge and cross-device technology to optimize the targeting. And what kind of targeting, I'll talk about a bit in a second. When you're looking at what we call analytics use cases, for example, customer journey analysis or attribution modeling or just the usage analysis, then the Google and Facebook technology at large is pretty useless. It doesn't really help you because you can't extract the data and ingest it into your own BI, into your own data warehouse, into your own CRM system, into your own ad server, into your own technology stack. So there, anything related to analytics not possible at large with Google and Facebook. Again, all the other campaigns in the analytics space, so the bottom right corner, that is something which, again, is only possible using an independent cross-device technology player. So let's look at Hyperlocal. What is Hyperlocal? Hyperlocal means you have an offline store, you have a consumer, the consumer shows up somewhere in the offline world, supermarket, fitness studio, McDonald's, whatever it is, and then you try to actually target that user on a digital device after he has been at a physical location. And it could be his smartphone or his tablet or his laptop, doesn't matter. Now, how does it work? Most of us have a smartphone. We take that smartphone with us in the offline world. We go to a certain location, supermarket, fitness studio, to a shopping center, to a cinema, whatever it is. And while we are using our smartphone in those locations, a technology provider in the cross-device space is able to pick up your signal and identify your device, and then run it through a piece of technology, which is called the marketing graph or identity graph. And then you are able to actually link other devices to the smartphone you've seen in the offline world. And those could be other smartphones or tablets or laptops. And then you're essentially creating a data segment of your original mobile segment that you identified in the offline world. And you're taking that segment, and then you can do a number of things with your data segment. You can either push it into a DMP of your choice, a data management platform, or you can push it into a DSP of your choice, into a demand-side platform, or you can provide it to your agency or trading desk, or to your in-house marketing team, and tell them to execute against that segment a fresh campaign. So by using cross-device technology, for the first time, you're actually able to target someone on a desktop device of the original mobile device generated in the offline world. So that's pretty innovative, and that wasn't possible just a couple of years ago. On the next two slides, I'm going to talk about the two use cases we've run in the past year, and where we had actually outstanding results for our clients. One is Vodafone. I think everyone knows Vodafone, a telco. So they provided us with certain so-called longitude and latitude locations. We picked up the smartphones, ran it through our technology to the smartphones, identified the desktops, and then could run a desktop campaign based on the original smartphones that we identified in the offline world. And there the target was to actually retarget those users on high conversion desktops with the objective to actually sell products on Vodafone.com or .de in this case. Offline via mobile to desktop retargeting using the cross-device marketing technology. Second example is quite similar, but was for a Köln Messe. Everyone knows the Demexco that's happening at Köln Messe. Wouldn't it be fantastic if you could target all the visitors that are going to Demexco? Not while they're at Demexco, when they're super busy doing 20 meetings a day and internet doesn't really work, but wouldn't it be nice to target exactly those 40,000 visitors a week later or 2 weeks later on their desktops when they're back in their offices, and you could push a certain message to them. So that's exactly what we did, captured everyone who was present at Demexco over those 2 days, and between 9 in the morning and 7 in the evening, and then we had a target segment, ran it through the technology, created a desktop segment, and now we can actually push display or rich media or video or whatever kind of messaging to exactly those users that were present at the Demexco. Now you might ask, like most of our clients ask me, how do you do it? Is that legal? So when I actually launched the business about 2.5 years ago, I decided that we need something that we call privacy by design. So every product, every process, and every employee is actually briefed on privacy, and everything we do is what we call a PII or privacy compliant. So we've been certified 3 times, 2015, 2016, 2017, also under the upcoming so-called GDPR, which is the new privacy legislation that is coming into place in May 2018, driven from the European Union, and which will be rolled out across any European market. And that's actually the main selling argument, and I alluded to that earlier before we started with the presentation, that I think we as the German technology scene shouldn't be shy. I think we're building really good and powerful products here for our customers, and in some instances probably even better products than the Americans are building, because we understand the German market, the European market, we understand data privacy, we care about it, so if a brand is using a local technology, then the chances are high that you're not ending up in jail. So a couple of great brands are already using us, and that was already the end of the show. So now we have actually 5 to 10 minutes for questions. So let me show, or give me your hands, and then I'll try to answer any question you might have. Thank you.
So is it just based on geo-targeting, or can you also target via demographic or interest-based information?
That's something which we're also able to do, and actually quite a few customers are asking for that, but it's not our core competence or core positioning. So all the regular targeting criteria, age, gender, income, interest, etc. are possible on top of the cross-device or hyperlocal element.
Can you tell a little bit more about the cross-device marketing graph? So how do you get the linkage between devices? Is it probabilistic, or do you have other partners?
Now, that's a good question, and I'll repeat it in case not everyone was able to hear it. So the question was, number one, how do we do it? Is it probabilistic or deterministic, and where's the data coming from?
If it's not probabilistic.
Yeah, okay. So we are looking at many different characteristics and data points on each individual device, on the smartphone, on the laptop, on the tablet, and that is, for example, the IP address, for example, longitude and latitude, for example, which websites were visited, browsing history, browsing patterns, which kind of devices is someone using, is it an iPhone, is it a Samsung, is it some other device, which carrier are you using, are you using a Wi-Fi, are you using a other mobile network, and in total we are analyzing some 31 billion data points each month with our algorithms, and so we're able to actually, the longer we do it and the more data points we have, the better the system becomes, and the higher the likelihood that our algos and our technology is actually correct in predicting if certain devices belong together. Right now, on average, we are achieving a 92% precision, so that means if you give our algos 100 device pairs and ask the algo, do you think these two devices belong to the same person or not? Then in 92% of the cases, the algo will be correct, and in 8% of the cases, the algo will make a false prediction. And that probably answers the second part of the question. It is based on a probabilistic model, so we are calculating probabilities, and it's a statistical model. We also have a certain amount of deterministic data, login data, the same data that Google or Facebook have, and we're able to then test our algos against that deterministic data, and that's how we're actually checking if the models we are building for the prediction are correct, and the more deterministic data we have, the better we can train the model, and the better and the higher the precision tends to be. And this deterministic data, to answer, I think the last part of your question comes from partly from our shareholders. So we're a venture-backed technology company. We are backed by 4 corporate German VCs out of the e-commerce and publishing space. And those players do have the deterministic data, which they share with us in a hashed format, and therefore we are PII privacy compliant. More questions, please. Yes, back there.
How long does it take to train that set? And can you make it real time?
How long did it train to?
How long does it take to train the set so that you can identify a cross-device? And how real time is that process?
So we started the company 2.5 years ago, and since then we've been optimizing and iterating the algos, and very similar to Corey's talk downstairs just half an hour ago. It was about failing fast and iterating, and we are working in bi-weekly sprints where we're implementing new versions of the algo and the stack to actually improve the precision metric and the recall metric. Question number 1. Question number 2, can we do it in real time? So think about it that we have a database. In that database, we have 3 kinds of information. Household, person, device. 1 household, 3 people, 10 devices. And we try to capture that information for everyone in Germany and in other markets as well. So in Germany, we have 130 million devices in our database that we have seen in the last 30 days. Now, how do you access that information? There's certain customers that want access in real time, so we've built an API that is able to respond within 5 milliseconds, so you can use it in an RTB programmatic environment if you want to. Most of our customers actually are not that advanced yet, so I'm always doing the Formula One analogy. We've built a Formula One racing car which has 300 horsepower, and most customers are somehow trying to figure out to get from a bike onto their Mofa, and from the Mofa into a Fiat or into a Beetle. But if you give them a key for a Formula One car, they don't really know where to get it started, and they crash on the first corner. So the API exists, no one is using it in real time. Yes?
I have a question to geo-targeting part.
Sure.
So in the example, in the example of Vodafone retargeted the consumer that visited its physical store. And my question is that data, physical store visiting, can also be available to competitors? So can, for example, O2 retarget the visitor that visited the Vodafone store on mobile as a business?
This competitive retargeting is possible, and in this specific case, it was not done. But we have a number of fashion brands that tell us, please, I'm making these up. I'm H&M, but I want to target everyone who was in a Zara. Because that's my target group, and then H&M provides us with the 200 locations of Zara and says, okay, do a 50-meter circle around each Zara location, capture everyone between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. For a month. That's our base audience, and then we want to retarget that Zara base audience with our H&M ad to drive people to hm.com. Yeah.
Fashion shops, what do they do with the data? I mean, the
That's actually correct. So here the use case is not trying to drive Demexco customers to a fair for cars or furniture or anything, but what you want to do is you want to retarget exactly those 40,000 consumers that are obviously interested in the Demexco, so that once they are back in their offices in the US, in the UK, in France, in Germany, wherever they come from, Demexco is pretty international. That's a highly relevant audience, and the CPM you can actually achieve in selling to exactly those 40,000 consumers is pretty high, because everyone, not everyone, but a certain target group actually really has a very high interest in reaching those people that physically attended the Demexco. So maybe that wasn't so clear in on the slide. So here it's not about actually retargeting again into the same location, but retargeting the consumers that were in that location, or for next year. Just yeah. Of course, of course. Actually, here the Köln Messe was not the client. To be clear, it was just our proxy for actually collecting an audience that we felt is highly relevant. Yeah, yeah. Hey.
Reaching new clients, do you go client direct, or do you work with agencies, or how does that work? Because I saw that you have your technology available on the trade desk and at Nexus. So how does that work?
Good question. So we like to work with agencies because honestly, we're a technology company. We're about 21, 22 people, and about 15 are data scientists, product people, technologists. Typically, they don't really like to travel around and to pitch to customers about their great technology. And so we only have a handful of commercial people. And so if we manage to convince an agency to work with us, and then the agency convinces their 20 clients to work with us, that's our favorite model. Sometimes a client also comes to us and works with us directly. But you're right, the data segments are available on AppNexus and the Trade Desk, and they are used mainly by agencies. If a brand comes to us and wants to license our technology directly, then typically we do it directly with the client rather than through the agency. The agency doesn't have a data science team and technologists, the brand does, and so then it's more a client direct relationship. So it depends a bit on which type of product.
Closer and
Uh-oh. All right. Thank you very much, guys. It was a pleasure to be here. Thanks.